The autumn wind whispered through the Colorado Rockies as Zara Williams tightened the last bolt on Mrs. Henderson's ancient tractor. Her remote mountain workshop, surrounded by towering pines and endless sky, was her sanctuary from the world's chaos. At 32, she'd built a reputation as the only mechanic within 50 miles who could fix anything with an engine, earning both respect and solitude among the scattered mountain community. The day everything changed started like any other. Zara was elbow-deep in a transmission when the sky erupted in flames. A massive object, trailing fire and smoke, screamed overhead with a sound that shook the earth. Her tools clattered to the floor as she rushed outside, watching the object disappear behind the mountain ridge. The rational part of her brain said to call the authorities. The curious part, the part that had taken apart her first engine at age 7, was already grabbing her emergency kit and keys to her modified Jeep. 20 minutes later, she was navigating through dense forest, following the trail of broken trees and scattered debris. The crash site looked like something out of a science fiction movie. Metal unlike anything she'd ever seen gleamed in the fading sunlight, its surface rippling with strange patterns that seemed to shift in the shadows. But it was the creature half buried in the wreckage that stopped her heart. It was massive, easily 8 feet tall, with a muscular frame covered in iridescent scales that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue. Its face was vaguely feline, with sharp angular features and 4 eyes currently closed in unconsciousness. A thick mane of what looked like crystalline fibers flowed from its head, sparking with small electrical charges. "Well," Zara muttered, tightening her grip on her toolkit, "you're definitely not from around here." As if in response to her voice, the creature's eyes snapped open. All 4 of them fixed on her with an intensity that froze her in place. They were the color of molten gold, with vertical pupils that contracted sharply in the daylight. The creature tried to move but immediately growled in pain, a sound that resonated in Zara's chest like distant thunder. "Don't move," she said, raising her hand slowly. "You're hurt pretty badly." The creature's response came in a series of clicks and rumbles before something near its throat hummed to life. "Stay back, human," it growled in perfectly understandable English, though the voice had an odd metallic undertone. "I am Crix, warrior of the Centaurian Empire, and I will not be taken prisoner." Zara couldn't help but roll her eyes. "Look, Your Highness, I'm a mechanic, not a soldier. And from what I can see, you've got a crushed leg and probably internal injuries. So you can either let me help you, or you can bleed out here in my forest. Your choice." For a long moment, those alien eyes studied her, probably trying to decide if she was a threat. Finally, the creature, Crix, relaxed slightly. "You show no fear," it observed. "Fear doesn't fix engines," Zara replied, already assessing the wreckage pinning Crix's leg. "And right now, you're just another broken machine that needs fixing. Though I have to admit, you're definitely the most interesting one I've seen this week." A sound emerged from Crix that might have been a laugh, though it sounded more like grinding gears. "You are not what I expected from the briefings about humans." "Yeah? Well, those briefings obviously didn't cover mountain mechanics." Zara began setting up her portable lift system, designed for helping her work on heavy machinery alone in the field. "Now, I'm going to get this wreckage off you, and then we're going to have a nice long chat about why a warrior of the Centaurian Empire is crash-landing in my backyard." As she worked, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something much bigger than a simple rescue. The way Crix kept scanning the sky, the advanced technology scattered around them, the mention of an empire she'd never heard of, it all pointed to trouble. But as she caught Crix watching her work with what seemed like growing respect, she realized that sometimes the biggest adventures started with simply choosing to help someone in need. The sun was setting by the time she managed to free Crix from the wreckage, casting long shadows through the trees. As she helped the massive alien warrior into her reinforced jeep, Zara couldn't help but smile at the absurdity of it all. Just another day in the life of a mountain mechanic, fixing tractors in the morning, rescuing alien warriors in the evening. What she didn't know then was that this was just the first page of an adventure that would change not just her life, but the fate of 2 civilizations. As she drove carefully back to her workshop, with an 8-foot alien warrior somehow crammed into her passenger seat, the stars began to emerge above the mountain peaks. And somewhere up there, others were already searching for their missing warrior, setting in motion events that would test the limits of both human ingenuity and interstellar diplomacy. Dawn broke over the mountains, painting the workshop in shades of gold and amber. Zara hadn't slept, spending the night jury-rigging medical equipment for an alien physiology she barely understood. Crix lay on her reinforced workbench, their crystalline mane dimmed to a soft glow, all 4 eyes fixed on her movements as she worked. "Your technical adaptation skills are impressive," Crix rumbled, watching as she modified an ultrasound machine she used for detecting internal engine damage. "Most species would have panicked at finding one of my kind." Zara adjusted the frequency settings, remembering how she'd first learned to fix things by taking apart her mother's broken radio. "Yeah, well, most people don't spend their lives fixing things everyone else considers impossible to repair." She moved the scanner over Crix's injured leg, studying the strange internal structure displayed on her modified screen. "So, want to tell me what really brought a Centaurian warrior to Earth? And don't give me that navigation error story again. I fix lies as easily as I fix engines." The alien warrior was silent for a long moment, their scaled chest rising and falling with careful breaths. Finally, Crix spoke, their voice lower than before. "I carry information that could prevent a war, or start one. There are those in the Empire who wish to conquer your world, viewing humanity as a primitive species unworthy of galactic citizenship. Others, like myself, see potential in your kind." "Potential for what?" Zara asked, though she had a feeling she already knew the answer. "Alliance. Innovation. Survival." Crix's golden eyes flickered to the workshop window, scanning the sky. "Your species creates solutions no other race would consider. You adapt, improvise, survive against impossible odds. The Empire needs that creativity, that spark, though many would rather crush it than nurture it." As if to emphasize the point, a distant rumble shook the mountain air. Zara rushed to the window, her heart stopping at the sight of 3 dark shapes descending through the clouds. They moved with an unnatural precision that no Earth aircraft could match. "They've found me," Crix stated grimly, attempting to rise despite their injuries. "Zara Williams, you must leave now. What happens next is not your concern." "Like hell it isn't," Zara snapped, already moving to secure the workshop's heavy doors. "You're in my garage, which makes you my responsibility. And I don't abandon projects halfway through." She grabbed her tablet, fingers flying over the screen as she activated the security systems she'd installed for far more mundane threats. "Besides, you said it yourself, humans are good at impossible solutions." The alien vessels were growing larger, their hulls reflecting the morning sun like polished obsidian. Crix watched in bewilderment as Zara darted around the workshop, connecting cables and throwing switches. "What are you doing? Remember how I said I fix anything with an engine?" Zara grinned, pulling a tarp off a massive device in the corner. "Well, that includes experimental military jammers that fell off a truck. If your ships use any kind of standard electromagnetic scanning." The approaching vessels suddenly lurched in the air, their precise formation wavering. Crix's eyes widened in surprise. "You've disrupted their targeting systems." "But how?" "Let's just say I've had some interesting clients over the years." Zara was already moving to her next task, grabbing tools and components from various shelves. "Now, about that information you're carrying, I'm guessing it's stored in some kind of data device?" Crix nodded, reaching into a hidden compartment in their armor to produce a small crystal that pulsed with inner light. "The evidence of the War Council's plans, and the names of those who would support peace with Earth. If this falls into the wrong hands, It won't, Zara declared, examining the crystal with a mechanic's practiced eye. Because we're going to do something they'll never expect, we're going to broadcast it. To everyone. She held up a modified satellite dish she'd been tinkering with for months. This was supposed to be for boosting my internet signal, but with some adjustments. The alien ships were circling now, obviously confused by their malfunctioning systems. Crix stared at Zara with a mixture of disbelief and growing respect. You would risk yourself, your world, to help prevent a war you didn't even know existed until today? Zara's hands never stopped moving as she worked to connect the crystal to her improvised broadcasting system. Where I come from, you don't need to know someone's whole story to know when they're fighting for something right. Besides, she added with a smile, I've always wanted to hack an alien network. As the morning sun climbed higher, Zara's workshop became a fortress of human ingenuity facing off against advanced alien technology. The pursuing ships grew more aggressive in their attempts to land, but each time they got close, Zara's cobbled-together defenses forced them back. She worked tirelessly, combining Earth technology with Crix's knowledge of Centaurian systems, creating something entirely new in the process. What had started as a simple rescue was evolving into something far more significant, a testament to humanity's ability to adapt, to rise to challenges beyond their understanding. And as Zara caught Crix watching her work with what could only be described as amazement, she realized that perhaps this was exactly the kind of proof the alien warrior had been looking for all along. The coming hours would test them both, but in that moment, an unlikely partnership between a mountain mechanic and an alien warrior was reshaping the future of two civilizations, one improvised solution at a time. The mountain afternoon brought an eerie calm. Zara's makeshift transmission array hummed with energy, its cobbled-together components struggling to interface with alien technology. Outside, the three Centaurian vessels maintained their distance, trapped in an electronic dance with her jury-rigged defenses. Inside, Crix had managed to sit up, their crystalline mane flickering with renewed strength. The encryption is unlike anything I've encountered, Zara muttered, fingers dancing across her tablet screen as she tried to decode the crystal's contents. Scattered around her were pieces of Earth technology never meant to interact with advanced alien systems. It's almost like it's adapting. Crix's golden eyes narrowed. That's impossible. The security protocols are complex, but they shouldn't be able to change. They leaned forward, studying the strange patterns flowing across Zara's screen. Unless. A sudden burst of static filled the workshop, and the crystal pulsed with an intense light. Holographic symbols erupted from its surface, filling the air with cascading alien text. But what caught Zara's attention wasn't the tech, it was Crix's reaction. The warrior had gone completely still, all four eyes wide with what she could only interpret as horror. This isn't just about a war council, Crix whispered. The encryption was adaptive because the data is alive. It's not just evidence, it's memory. Neural recordings of every secret meeting, every hidden transaction, every. They stopped, mandibles clicking in agitation. The corruption goes deeper than anyone suspected. Zara stepped closer to the floating symbols, watching as they shifted and reformed. What exactly am I looking at? The complete dismantling of everything my people have built, Crix replied, their voice heavy. These aren't just plans for Earth's conquest. They're blueprints for overthrowing the entire Centaurian coalition. The War Hawks aren't just pushing for expansion, they're working with the Nexus Syndicate. I'm going to need more context here, Zara said, already modifying her transmitter to handle the increased data flow. What's the Nexus Syndicate? Imagine your planet's worst criminal organizations combined with advanced technological capabilities and a complete lack of ethical constraints. Crix's mane sparked with agitation. They've been trying to destabilize the coalition for centuries. If they've infiltrated the War Council. The workshop's lights flickered as another energy surge pulsed through the crystal. More data poured forth, and Zara's eyes widened as she began to recognize patterns in the chaos. These aren't just political records, she said, pointing to a recurring sequence. These are weapons schematics. But they're incomplete, like they're meant to be combined with something else. Crix moved to stand, grimacing through the pain. The Syndicate's been developing bioweapons, but they've never managed to create anything stable enough for deployment. They would need. The warrior froze, all four eyes turning to Zara. They need human DNA. Understanding dawned with horrifying clarity. The invasion isn't about conquest, Zara breathed. It's about harvesting. They want to use us as raw material. The air in the workshop grew heavy with the weight of this revelation. Outside, the circling ships had begun a new pattern, their movements more aggressive. Crix's mane crackled with electrical discharge as they processed the implications. Your signal jammers won't hold them forever, the warrior said. And now we know they're not just Empire loyalists, they're Syndicate operatives. They'll have countermeasures we haven't seen yet. Zara was already moving, grabbing components from various shelves and workbenches. Then we changed the game. You said human creativity is what they fear? Let's show them why. She pulled out a massive engine part, its surface covered in experimental modifications. This was supposed to be for a new hybrid power system I've been developing. But if we combine it with your crystal's energy signature. You want to build a weapon? Crix asked, watching as she worked. No, Zara smiled, connecting wires with practiced efficiency. I want to build a beacon. One that'll broadcast your neural recordings not just to the Empire, but to every species capable of receiving the signal. Let's see how the Syndicate handles total transparency. A thunderous boom shook the workshop as one of the ships fired a warning shot. Dust rained from the ceiling, but Zara didn't flinch. Her hands remained steady as she integrated human and alien technology in ways neither was designed to handle. They're getting desperate, Crix observed, moving to help despite their injuries. Which means your plan might just be crazy enough to work. Story of my life, Zara replied, making final adjustments to her hybrid creation. Though I usually just deal with engine troubles, not interstellar conspiracies. As they worked together, human and alien, the boundary between their species seemed to fade. Crix's technical knowledge combined with Zara's innovative thinking created something entirely new, a testament to what cooperation could achieve. The workshop, once just a place for fixing broken machines, had become ground zero for a revolution that would reshape the galaxy. The question was, could they complete their work before the Syndicate operatives broke through their defenses? As another blast rocked the building, Zara and Crix shared a look of determination. They had uncovered the truth, now they just had to survive long enough to share it with the universe. The mountain sunset painted the workshop in shades of crimson as Zara and Crix raced to complete their makeshift beacon. The air crackled with energy, both from Crix's crystalline mane and the increasingly unstable hybrid technology they were creating. Outside, the Syndicate ships had begun a new tactic, systematically probing Zara's defenses for weaknesses. Your jamming field is degrading, Crix announced, their golden eyes tracking the enemy vessel's movements through the workshop's reinforced windows. They're adapting faster than anticipated. Zara didn't look up from her work, her hands moving with practiced precision as she integrated more salvaged components into their creation. That's the thing about barriers, she replied, connecting another power relay. They don't have to hold forever. They just have to hold long enough. The beacon was unlike anything either of them had seen before, a fusion of Centaurian crystal technology and human mechanical ingenuity. Pieces of old tractors and experimental military hardware merged with alien components in ways that defied conventional engineering. At its heart, Crix's data crystal pulsed with increasing intensity, its neural recordings ready to expose the Syndicate's conspiracy to the galaxy. A direct hit from one of the ships rattled the workshop's foundations. Tools clattered to the floor as Zara steadied herself against her workbench. Okay, maybe they're adapting a little faster than I'd like. Crix moved to help her, their massive frame still favoring the injured leg. The Syndicate's weapons are designed to corrupt and destroy data. If they realize what we're attempting, then we need to give them something else to worry about. Zara's eyes lit up with the kind of inspiration that had led her to rebuild her first engine at age 12. She rushed to a corner of the workshop, pulling a tarp off what appeared to be a collection of old satellite dishes and modified radio equipment. Remember how I disrupted their targeting systems? She began rapidly reconnecting wires and adjusting frequencies. That was just passive interference. But if we reverse the polarity and feed it through your neural translator. Understanding dawned in all four of Crix's eyes. You want to hack their ships? With Earth technology? Not hack exactly, Zara grinned, the expression making her look more predatory than the alien warrior. More like give them a taste of what makes humans so special. Your people fear our creativity. Let's show them why. Working together, they quickly modified Zara's equipment. Crix's knowledge of Centaurian systems guided her improvised alterations, while her practical experience helped bridge the technological gap between their species. As they worked, another blast rocked the building, closer this time. The neural patterns in the crystal, Zara said, making final adjustments. They're not just recordings, are they? They're actual thought processes, consciousness captured in data. Crix nodded. Our technology evolved from our natural ability to store memories in crystalline structures. The crystal doesn't just contain evidence, it contains the actual experiences of those who witnessed the Syndicate's corruption. Then that's our advantage. Zara connected the last wire, and her hybrid creation hummed to life. They're expecting a data burst, something they can intercept and corrupt. Instead, we're going to give them consciousness. Raw, unfiltered, human consciousness mixed with Centaurian neural patterns. The workshop's lights flickered as power surged through their improvised system. Outside, the Syndicate ships suddenly wavered in their attack pattern, their energy weapons sputtering. It's working, Crix observed, their main crackling with increased intensity. Their systems are trying to process the combined neural patterns. But the strain. A high-pitched whine filled the air as one of the enemy vessels began to spin, its control systems overwhelmed by the unfamiliar hybrid consciousness flooding its networks. The other ships quickly broke off their attack, retreating to a safer distance. That'll keep them busy, Zara said, already turning back to their primary goal. Now let's finish this beacon before they figure out how to adapt. But as they returned to their work, a new sound cut through the chaos, the distinctive roar of military helicopters approaching from the east. Zara's heart sank as she realized their battle hadn't gone unnoticed by Earth's authorities. How long do you need to complete the modifications? Crix asked, moving to defend their position despite their injuries. Zara's hands flew over the beacon's controls, making final adjustments. 10 minutes to get it working, maybe 15 to make sure the signal reaches every corner of known space. She paused, looking up at her alien companion. Think we can hold off both your people and mine for that long? Crix's mandibles clicked in what she now recognized as their version of a smile. You've already proven that impossible odds are a human specialty. Besides, they added, their golden eyes gleaming with newfound respect, I've learned not to underestimate mountain mechanics. As the sun disappeared behind the mountains and multiple forces converged on their position, Zara and Crix prepared for their final stand. Their unlikely partnership had already changed both their lives, now it was time to see if it could change the galaxy. Night had fallen over the mountains, but Zara's workshop blazed with light. The hybrid beacon pulsed with increasing power, its combination of human and Centaurian technology creating patterns of energy never before seen on Earth. Military helicopters circled overhead while Syndicate ships maintained their distance, their system still reeling from the consciousness attack. 2 minutes until full power, Zara announced, her hands dancing across the beacon's makeshift controls. Years of fixing impossible machines had prepared her for this moment, though she'd never imagined her skills would be used to save humanity from an interstellar threat. Crick stood guard at the workshop's entrance, their crystalline mane casting shifting shadows on the walls. The Syndicate ships are regrouping. They'll have purged their systems of our neural attack by now. A spotlight from one of the helicopters swept across the building as a voice boomed through a loudspeaker. This is the United States military. You are surrounded. Exit the building immediately. Zara couldn't help but laugh. Surrounded by people who have no idea what they're in the middle of. She made another adjustment to the beacon, watching as its energy signature strengthened. If they shoot at us, or if the Syndicate ships attack, the beacon will be destroyed, and with it, any hope of exposing the conspiracy. Crick's golden eyes narrowed as they assessed their options. We need a diversion. We need a miracle, Zara corrected, but her hands never stopped working. She'd built her reputation on fixing the unfixable, on finding solutions where none seemed to exist. She wasn't about to stop now. The crystal at the beacon's heart suddenly flared, its light filling the workshop with blinding intensity. The neural recordings within it resonated with the hybrid technology, creating something entirely unexpected. Holographic images sprang to life around them, showing scenes from both human history and Centaurian archives, moments of cooperation, innovation, and shared triumph against impossible odds. The crystal, Cricks breathed, their mandibles clicking in amazement. It's not just broadcasting the conspiracy. It's showing the truth about both our species, Zara finished. She watched as the images shifted and flowed, telling a story of potential and possibility. Everything you wanted to prove about humanity, everything your people need to understand about us. The helicopter's spotlights caught the edge of the holographic display, causing the images to refract and expand outward. Above them, the Syndicate ships suddenly backed away, their sensors overwhelmed by the unprecedented energy signature. 30 seconds to full broadcast strength, Zara announced, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. But we're going to need. She never finished the sentence. The workshop's doors burst open as both military personnel and what appeared to be government agents rushed in, weapons raised. But they froze at the sight before them, an alien warrior standing protectively near a local mechanic, surrounded by hovering images of human and alien history intertwined. Nobody move. A voice of authority cut through the tension. A distinguished woman in a suit stepped forward, her eyes taking in the scene with remarkable composure. I'm Director Chen of the Extraterrestrial Response Division. We've been monitoring this situation since the crash. Then you know what's at stake, Crick said, their voice carrying the weight of their mission. Director Chen's gaze moved from the alien warrior to Zara, then to the pulsing beacon. We detected your first attempted transmission. Once we decoded enough to understand its importance. She turned to her team. Stand down. Let them finish. 10 seconds, Zara called out, her fingers making final adjustments. The beacon's energy had reached critical levels, the hybrid technology pushing far beyond its intended limits. Cricks, I need you to. The warrior was already moving, their hands joining hers on the controls. Together, human and alien, they guided the power surge into its final configuration. The crystal flared one last time, and the workshop filled with a light that seemed to bend reality itself. In that moment, as the neural recordings and evidence of the Syndicate's conspiracy broadcast across the galaxy, something else was transmitted too. The story of an unlikely partnership between a mountain mechanic and an alien warrior, proof that cooperation between species wasn't just possible, it was essential. The Syndicate ships fled as their involvement was exposed to every corner of known space. The Centaurian coalition, faced with irrefutable evidence of corruption within their ranks, initiated immediate reforms. And on Earth, the revelation of alien life led not to panic, but to a new era of technological and cultural exchange. Months later, Zara's workshop had become something of a legend in both human and alien circles. She'd been offered positions at top research facilities, but she preferred staying in her mountains, fixing both Earth vehicles and the occasional alien spacecraft that found its way to her door. Cricks visited often, their role as liaison between Earth and the Coalition bringing them frequently to the planet they'd once crashed on. They would find Zara elbow-deep in an engine or experimenting with hybrid technology, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. "You never did tell me," Crick said during one such visit, watching as Zara worked on a complex piece of machinery that combined technologies from 3 different worlds. "Why did you help me that first day? You had no reason to trust an alien warrior who crashed in your forest." Zara looked up from her work, a familiar spark of innovation in her eyes. "Because sometimes the best solutions come from helping people, even when, especially when, they're different from us." She grinned. "Besides, I told you before, fear doesn't fix engines." Above them, stars twinkled in the mountain sky, each one now a potential destination rather than just a distant light. The universe had changed, and at the heart of that change was the simple truth that the greatest achievements come not from conquest or competition, but from the willingness to reach across the divide and work together. And it all started with a mechanic who wasn't afraid to fix the impossible.